Hi, this is Micah DeSalle, A+ Tutoring, and I wanted to do a brief demo here of um, what we all should know about the PSAT and some tutoring you might want to consider for it. So first of all, you might see here I'm on noodle.com, and they talk about the new PSAT, about how about 1.5 million juniors are going to be taking that. That's going to be in October 2016. And there have been some revisions that students should know about. It is a pretty different test than the old PSAT. The biggest test difference we'll see here has to do with the literary analysis. So we're often asked what an author thinks or is trying to do when he's writing a certain way in a passage. And that's not something that's too commonly asked on the ACT or even the old versions of the PSAT or SAT. But the math is similar to what one would expect on the ACT, and just about fits what a junior would expect maybe halfway through his junior year. So what was the big reason then that things switched over to the PSAT in this new format? Common Core is a big reason for that. I don't know a lot of people who are really that happy about Common Core. Maybe they're happy that some problems are more straightforward than they used to be. They involve less critical thinking or less esoteric vocabulary. This was really done for marketing reasons. The ACT took a big market share from the SAT, and this is the SAT's way of getting back by changing the test and putting David Coleman in charge. In olden days, we would expect a 240 on the PSAT. Now it's gone to a system that's similar to what the old SAT was like. So if you remember, those scores would go from 1400 to 1600. Now on the PSAT, it's basically 320 to 1520 to differentiate itself from what we'd expect from the SAT. So somewhat confusing, but there's really two basic sections we're talking about now. It's the reading and writing, which are coupled together, and then the math. So in a way, there's a little bit less emphasis on the writing if one wants to think of it that way. There's other reasons here we talk about taking the PSAT, and I've enumerated some of them here. First, there is that idea of distinction. If you have that on your resume that you've taken the PSAT and you've gotten something in the National Merit Scholar qualifying tournament, some sort of recognition, that really stands out to employers. Well, first of all, it stands out because that means you were in the top 4% when you took the test, because that's the only way that you will qualify. So about 3% of students will be recognized in some way and move on in the tournament, and the top 1%, top 1/2% will get the best scholarships. So you know, you can think about those numbers. That's 1.5 million juniors, about 30,000 per state, maybe 10,000 per major city who are taking these tests. And in the end, about 50,000 of those students, which is the 3%, are recognized for the scores. About 7,600 get those actual scholarships. So it's pretty hard to do that. The top 1/2%. But there's other groups that get scholarships along the way. We see that some minority groups now are getting some special scholarships. $180 million was set aside for low-income students and students of color. So you wanted to fill out the special box when applying for that. And then there's the benefits of actually getting other sorts of money. There's other companies out there that will also give money, and you could possibly get a full ride. I'm talking maybe above $100,000 in scholarship money. in certain situations. Now, the most practical benefit, though, is it will prepare you for the SAT and the ACT. So even if you're not 100% ready for a grade score on the PSAT, it can be a stepping stone to do well for the SAT and even for the ACT. So a lot of people I hear from, some fellow tutors, will seem to say that one needs to get something like the 80th percentile on a practice PSAT, like freshman, sophomore year, to have a chance to do well on the junior PSAT. But I've seen students even get 40 to 50 percentile increases in their scores. So I don't think even a score of 50 percentile, something like a even something like a 780 is necessarily too low on the PSAT. That could be good enough for a sharp student who's working hard to get in that top 4%. So that's something you want to consider. Do you have some sort of skill in literary analysis? Because you'll need that on the PSAT. It's something that can be taught, but you want some good foundational knowledge there too. There's some interesting charts here when you think about scholarships and what you can possibly do with the PSAT. This is kind of some older information, but some basic idea of the types of schools out there, including like LSU, for example, that will give full tuition, not only for national merit finalists, but for semi-finalists as well. So, we're talking maybe top 1% rather than top 0.5%. And then, getting into the top, 1 or 2%, even the top 10% for a lot of schools can still provide a full scholarship. And if we're talking out of state, again, this could add up to 50, 100,000 or even more over an academic career. So if you do, some brief calculations, even if you're spending something like $1,500 for a PSAT tutoring program, if you consider that can turn into $150,000, $1,500 obviously is just 1% of $150,000. Now, some programs will charge up to $8,000 for a whole tutoring program, so do keep that in mind. But local tutors like myself, who don't pay a lot for advertising, have seen students, many national merit scholars, who could finish their program in something like 40 hours, which would mean you would have a good chance to stay within a budget of less than $2,000. So if you would like a free consultation, you can just give me a call. My name is Michael DeSalvo. I'm here at A+ Tutoring. I've tutored students all around the country, from Texas to Florida, even internationally, and Sweden. And I have helped students to the top 1% and higher on the PSAT, SAT, and ACT, helping students into schools like Yale, Harvard, but even students with more basic skill sets go from the 5th percentile to the 50th percentile. So if you'd like to contact me for a free consultation to find out if you're a good fit for tutoring, my number is 513-939-9033. You can also contact me at MD, like Michael DeSalvo, at A+ Tutoring, all spelled out, -testrep.com. And I'm signing off. I'll post more here about what's going on with the PSAT prep world here.